The member for Curtin.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction. Will the Minister update the House on the Morrison government's progress on reaching Australia's emission reduction targets?
The Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction. Yes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Curtin for her question. And I acknowledge that as a former Vice-Chancellor of Notre Dame University in WA, she knows the extraordinary role that technology can play in solving hard problems, and one of those, of course, is bringing down emissions whilst maintaining a strong economy, Mr Speaker, and that's exactly what we're committed to doing as part of our comeback from the pandemic, Mr Speaker. Now, we have strong targets, we have an enviable track record, and we have a clear plan, Mr Speaker. And when we make commitments, we keep them. And our commitment is clear: lower prices, keeping the lights on and bringing down emissions, Mr Speaker. And I can confirm to the House that our plan is working, because the Kyoto era came to an end on June 30 this year, and we now know from data that was put out yesterday, report that was put out yesterday, that we beat our Kyoto era targets by 459 million tonnes, Mr Speaker. 459 million tonnes. That's almost a year's worth of emissions. Now, Mr Speaker, when we came into government, the deficit to reach that target was 755 million tonnes. What an extraordinary turnaround, Mr Speaker. And whilst others have walked away from their commitments, whilst others have done that, we've rolled up our sleeves and got on with the job. Now, thanks to significant reductions in electricity, in agriculture, in the land sector, we've absolutely smashed our targets. And in fact, this year, the year just passed, our emissions were 519 million tonnes. That was 20% lower than the forecast for this year when those opposite left government, and that was with a carbon tax. They had a carbon tax, Mr Speaker. Now, because Australia's experience has been that when new technologies become commercially competitive, Australians will adopt them. We know that's how to bring down emissions, and we're seeing that with renewables right now. We've seen $30 billion of investments in renewables since 2017, same rate this year as last year, and we're deploying them 10 times faster than the global average, 4 times faster than the US, the UK, Europe, Japan, Mr Speaker. Now, not all countries can boast our level of success. We've brought down emissions 16.6% since 2005, the baseline year for Paris, and countries like Canada and New Zealand, they've barely budged, Mr Speaker, 16.6 down in that time. We're getting on with the job of bringing down emissions, deploying technology, not taxation, because if it's not technology, it is taxation, Mr Speaker. We're getting on with the job, real and practical action to bring down emissions as we come back from the pandemic.